Oh,
So the zoning permit cost. Whatever one, I think there's a reference here. Yeah. $60 and $3. But it is set. Final certificate of occupancy permit was 50 for residential, 100 for commercial. Okay. That's it. All right.
we're live.
I'd like to call to order the town council work session for Snow Hill, April 7th, 2026. We have a presentation from Dan Brandon. Go ahead, Dan, take it away.
Okay, what you have in front of you is a page on charges associated with accessory dwelling units that I worked up earlier this fall. And we have potentially new accessory dwelling units coming on board over the next year as mandated by the state. By October 26th, we are supposed to have new legislation in place that does allow accessory dwelling units. We are ahead of the game, and then we do already allow accessory dwelling units, but we may have to fine tune that ordinance. There's nothing in the schedule of fees and charges that determine what an accessory dwelling unit would have to pay in terms of water and sewer hookup charges. So I crafted this thing based on the example that's already on the books. That basically says if a single family dwelling adds an accessory dwelling unit, they would receive certain credits. And then an additional credit backing out of that charge for a final hookup charge. In this example, $1,350 for a water impact fee. And if it were a sewer hookup fee, I created under example B there. If a single family dwelling unit adds an accessory dwelling unit, they would get certain credits and the final hookup charge would be $2,650. So for example, if someone were converting their garage or adding an addition to the house or a separate dwelling unit, or creating a standalone accessory dwelling unit on the property, they would be expected to pay a total of $4,000. I think, at least in my opinion, I think that's a reasonable charge for a second dwelling unit. Now, if they have to run a new water line from the street with the cost of a new meter, they're going to pay the full single family dwelling unit fee. That's how it's structured. So sometimes they can run that water line that's already, or that water line to the accessory dwelling unit that's already there servicing the dwelling unit. So there's no additional line and water meter potentially being run from the city services. But if they do have to run a new line, then it's the full charge for, as it would be for a single family dwelling.
Okay.
If I could say a word of introduction to this, because you want to be sensitive to the concern from the past that sometimes we bring information to you without any warning or anything. We're not looking to have a discussion about these tonight. This is basically presenting to you the latest report from the Fees and Fines Committee meeting, with Dan giving you an overview of what it contains, and then inviting the council to take it home, study it, review it, and think about it. And then we would bring it forward again for a work session to actually get into the back and forth and the discussion about specific fines or not, fines and fees that are associated. Part of this is also connected to the annexation application that we have from Summerfield. We don't have an established annexation fee. And it could, they vary in a number of jurisdictions from several $1,000s to something based on a formula for acreage involved and that sort of thing. And so we want to have a pretty good discussion on that too at the proper time. But I didn't want you to be thinking, or anyone on council think that we're looking for input or feedback from you or reaction to you tonight. This is basically, as I say, with Dan's overview for you to take home and look it over and come back at another time for the real work.
So moving on, section 131-2 essentially resurrected what the fee structure was previously as of July of last year, and suggests some modifications to those fee structures. The $125 fee is consistent with what was adopted in July. That's carried over into this document. You, council, can choose to reduce or lower that fee or raise that fee however you prefer. But, two of the major discussion items that I think we talked about at the fine, fees committee meeting was how do we charge for a single family dwelling unit permit? And under the old formula, it was $85 per square foot of the living area times the factor of, let me back up. It's the square footage of the living area by 85 times $85 a square foot multiplied by a reduction factor of 0.45%, with $75 of the fee being non-refundable. That fee or that measure of $85 per square foot probably is well out of date. It probably has been on the books for 20 years. Current national averages, from what I can tell, was $166 a square feet. And again, that may vary according to the region, East Coast, Midwest, West Coast, but perhaps there could be more research to see what it truly is on the Eastern Shore here. But I come up with a figure of approximately $125 per square foot. And I think when I sat down the other day to share this with Councilperson Fletcher, I think we used an example of a 1,200 square foot building using $125 or the $85 a square feet. It was like $650, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it would be a higher, I'll check the math on that, but so I suggest $125 a square foot, but we could re-examine that, look at, see how well that fits with the Eastern Shore cost of doing business. Likewise, there's a fee for garages. It was $35 a square foot. We have suggested $70 a square foot. Roofing permit stayed the same that we're charging right now at $125. We don't do inspections for siding installations and window replacements, so I recommend dropping charges for that. They have fees for accessory buildings.
So nobody does this. Did I ask you this question yet?
My knowledge is no, I can't say any town that I'm aware of or that are charging for siding inspections and siding permits. If they're not structurally changing the building, there's very little to inspect. It's not saying something can't go wrong, but if they're using certified contractors, complying with building code requirements, traditionally we have not required inspections for that type of work. On the back of the first page, council may want to consider reducing some charges for accessory type buildings such as fences and swimming pools. Right now we're charging a flat out fee of $125. Personal opinion is that it's somewhat excessive for those type of structures, but again, that's a council decision. The commercial building permit fee uses the same formula as residential. That's under item 2, A2, where they take the square footage times current value per square foot, which they don't specify under the old ordinance, times that reduction factor of 0.405%. And I have suggested a square footage charge of $175. Again, more research could be done on that to see if that's applicable to our area. It goes on to provide some additional details, use of land, like a home occupation, $125 permit fee, stormwater management facility, application, $500, occupancy permit for residential, $50 fee. If it's included with the building permit application, I would recommend there's no additional charge. It's part of the process. Signage, $125 fee. Moving down to demolition, recommendation to change that from $50 for a 1-story to $125. Board of Appeals filing fees would stay the same. There'd be for a grading permit to $125. That would include stormwater management plan review instead of control plan review. As you know, plumbing and electric permits are handled through the county. Do not collect any fees or create any invoices for those permits. Not a whole lot of change I suggest in the planning and zoning fees.
where you've got this, is that eliminating that, am I correct?
Yeah, I did not go into that because I didn't know if this is current. And I don't recommend any changes to that since it's not something I generally get involved with in terms of processing those water rates or fee structures. So I just crossed it out because I didn't have any suggested changes to that section. That's under 131-4.
And then under that, is it feasible, would it be possible to open to a review of that by the, what's his name? I want to talk with that.
Bobby?
Yeah,
Which we went through that exercise last year when we were updating the EDU fees because of
that's what I'm saying.
the offset of we were charging 10.5, I think, and the average was more than 17,000. So you all upgraded those fees last year.
Okay, thank you.
On the section 131-6. Municipal infractions. Some further thought needs to be addressed or looked at. Regarding those infractions. As well as miscellaneous license and fees. I don't know if that's current or if that's something that needs to be looked at. I don't think we've addressed any of that in our fines and fees committee. Or the minor charges, either for infractions or minor license and fees. It appears to be out of date, at least under the landlord registration and rental permit fee under item H. That's no longer accurate. Docking fees, I think, were updated last year as well. I don't know what 131-9, a lot assessment rate.
When along the line, there was a project and every property was charged a fee to apply. What's that?
Vacant property or?
Every property in town was charged a lot assessment fee. Paid for, I want to say Martin Street or some street in Snow Hill. I'd have to look it up. It was in place before I came. Then I got it down to about, I want to say $200,000. And then the council wiped the debt.
That's no longer being used? That's no longer being applied to anything?
No. But that was a way that I guess the town assessed for a project for water and sewer by charging every property that lot assessment fee once a year.
I see. So beyond, what I showed some minor modifications to, I didn't really address anything beyond 131-4, with the exception of those accessory dwelling unit charges for water and sewer rates. So I would encourage council to give us some thoughts and feedback.
And what did you say is? 131-2, 131-3, and 4. That your concentration on that, correct?
131-4 and 1. That 131-4 and 131-5. The only two changes I made are accessory dwelling charges. But you're correct. The only changes I focused on were 131-2. 131-3. Yeah, those two sections.
Okay.
And I think the approach is that, I think what we're recommending is that be reproduced in one document and not be embedded actually in the code so that you can change that document as you wish each year without having to go through a code amendment. I think there's references to various parts of the code already that was changed to reflect that direction.
We did. We changed from the code ordinance to resolution so that we could do it in one reading at one time without all that. But refresh my memory on the annexation business. So our committee has not recommended a fee yet for it. Are we still looking at that for an annexation fee?
Actually, I added that in under item for section 131-3, planning and zoning fees. Item Q, right above the 131-4 water charges.
What was that again?
Under, right above 131-4 water charges, annexation would be $5,000, a flat out fee plus $25 an acre.
Okay.
And we looked at a variety of communities, a number of communities in the area. This is somewhat consistent with those charges. Some are less, some are more, some have different formulas. But this is consistent with what I'm seeing in some of the neighborhoods.
So,
So would you like us to schedule this for the next work session? As an agenda topic along with the budget discussions? Now, we do have a work session next week prior to the council meeting at 7 for budget, but I don't know if you will be ready for this at that time yet, or if you want to do this at the end of the month.
And then
Doing a regular work session.
yeah.
You don't need, you need me. I'd like to speak back to the office and finish up on a couple things.
Okay.
We should be good now.
All right.
Thanks, Dan. Thank you.
Don't forget your jackets.
Oh. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, moving on to the budget work session part of the meeting.
Can I say something before we
Go ahead.
start this? This part right here, 131-10. I thought we already changed this part.
You do.
So is this an old one that he was looking at? I mean, like an old piece? But
He's marked
this,
out here,
Yes,
so all,
this part is already changed.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have to look at this one.
Yeah.
131-10.
Right, he hasn't proposed any changes in that. He would, in fact, he made a note, he wasn't sure if it was up to date or
Yeah.
not. So that was before he came on board, I think.
No, I'm getting confused because I know what we went through, but looking at his is making me think
Yeah.
that it wasn't changed.
and the trash roll carts were also changed.
So-
Right, I thought
So
so.
if the document is,
Yeah, and the document, yes.
And I think we got these, we changed for these, it was in an envelope that we got. So if you didn't put it in your code book, you're not gonna see it, but it's somewhere in a packet on the envelope that says code change. Yeah. All right, I'm ready. I just want to make sure that everybody's mind what.
No. these are the images pulled from the. All right, budget work session. What do you have for us? Or do you want to?
I would just like to say to Ron, as I needed to share my knowledge and my experience with this budget, and to Ron, I just can't say how well he did. I mean, he compiled this data, he's taken all the information in, and I think he did the adjustments, anything that comes up.
Obviously, a lot of time has been spent on the budget, not just hours or weeks, months. It was this, designed to meet minimal wants and more needs. So this is not a budget that, oh, was full of just anything, these are a number of items that we already have in place to operate the town. To its full, advantage. But I'm going to hear what you look over, what your thoughts are, and where we can see if any questions that might come up. I should be able to answer them to the best of my ability. So, whatever you're ready.
Margaret, did you want to start us off?
Not in the budget section yet. I am in the mayor's letter. Um, on the second page, down the bottom. I'm not good about taxes. The part that says, however, I do propose for the first time in more than 20 years, the slight bump of the $2 per $100. Can you explain that? You see it?
Closing for time to 20 years, a slight bump in the corporate property.
Yes, the
Property tax rate from $2 per. Let me see.
where would that fall under? That's, cause that would be part of a revenue, right?
Yes, it is. It's under line 4,006 and 4,002. What this is, best I can explain is, we talk about business licenses. The county gives the town maybe $4,000 a year. They deal with the businesses. They issue the licenses for the businesses. The town bills these taxes based on the property reports that the businesses file with the state. So every year, these businesses are required to file personal property taxes with the state. The state then notifies the town, and we bill that percentage on those properties. Probably hasn't been increased in over 20 years.
And the utility,
That's like Delmarva Power, Verizon,
right?
Sandpiper.
So that's the business part. This is,
Yes,
but okay, where is that at on the line?
So
Because I
revenue, it's on revenue, it's in the first block. That's where the 406 corporate property tax is,
It's on the first page.
first page. Let's see, 85, you're gonna go to the budget.
Yeah, it's not in, I got things. It's not.
I think back to there.
Yeah, if you take that out and I think turn it around,
Yeah,
then.
yeah,
right, yeah.
I'm gonna have to put new holes in it. Cause I have to see it from the top.
sides here.
Yeah, I'm just putting it in here for now. That's what I'm gonna have to do, put the holes in. All right, say it again, 404, right? Okay, all right,
406 corporate property tax.
right.
Oh. Yeah. That's good.
And then as long as the next one goes on the second page. It'll be 402, 4002. Public utilities.
It's been at 1.82% for 20 years, maybe. I'm not
Yeah,
sure. about that.
Okay. No, I'm just trying to take what's written and put it with my lines up. You know how I am. I'm always confused, but I get it.
He's gonna get his notes out, Scott.
So we're anticipating bringing in less money than we did last year.
For the past few years, we haven't run this money than we budgeted for. So this, and it hasn't been updated in years. So the corporate tax was at 1.8%, we're like 2% even.
Yeah.
It is not a huge increase, but it's should be enough not to.
Yeah.
And the public utilities, which they have operated for years and they make enough money.
Probably get,
Yeah, so that was at 1.82.
yeah.
We've already got 2.4, which is actually what other counties, other jurisdictions are doing.
Okay.
All right.
Are we gonna bring in enough to cover our expenses this year?
If we stick to the budget that I have, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That is the only tax increase.
Yes.
Correct, reflected in the budget.
Yes.
Property tax rates and the water and sewer rates are all supposed to stay the same.
Yeah. It comes in like the last, maybe beginning of July, but the county gives us whatever that, for the liquor board.
Yeah. What the liquor board made.
Or a percentage maybe
Yeah.
of that they charge for the licensing and the permits.
Yeah.
Some of these things I don't know exactly what it's based on.
Yeah.
Except that liquor board, how much and that.
Yeah.
But they handle it all, so I don't know if it has to be some type of percentage, of the county's collections
Mhm.
on the liquor board.
Well, from looking at this from 24 and 25, it's got to be because we received 90-some thousand in 24. And in 25, it was 77.
Oh, it's gone down.
Yeah, going way down.
We're in a constant state of food regulations.
It could be a percentage of liquor that's sold, the taxes. So much.
It's like on personal property.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, the corporate property,
Oh,
uh-huh.
so 90,000.
Yeah.
90,000. I was like,
Very exciting.
No,
So the businesses must file with the state. And
Right.
if they don't file with the state, who goes and
get some to get,
Yes.
in order for the
Yes.
money to be got.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Our building permits is way down too. 440.
yeah. So that's one, and then I would say that's a line,
So,
because the timing of when we're doing the permits what
That's
happened in
in
the
July
past.
when it's like. the
Correct,
end
so
of
it's falling in the
start
next
before
fiscal year,
I-
this should have been the past fiscal year, so it's,
It
you see what I'm
was,
saying? It's coming earlier or than normal.
All the funds that we received in July or August for the prior fiscal year are journal entry back into the year. So it doesn't happen until we make the journal entry either through the audit or as we have received the money. So as you're going through on up to date, it isn't, yeah, it's relative to know that this is what's gonna happen, like the liquor board. I know it's like, but building permits, I don't know what the,
Because it comes to July and investment
Okay.
the next year, so when we do this going into the next year, we're gonna backtrack it, you're gonna see this year's increase and the same thing moving forward, it's just an accounting of putting it in the correct fiscal year.
okay, so I have a question about the landlord registrations as it was budgeted
Mhm.
and it's the fee didn't increase, right? So why are we budgeting for so much more? Because the number that you see on that,
25,000 is less.
We're budgeted less. We're budgeted less. We budgeted this year for 28,000, but, next year,
Okay.
we're budgeting for 25.
excuse me. Look, I always do this. You have to excuse me and just tell me, get on the right line. Cause I'm looking at 26, I'm thinking
Yeah, I'll take-
26 in my mind
It's
and
okay.
not looking at 20. I mean, when I look at this at home, I have this blocked off. I have it blocked off, so it's different. But looking at now, I'm looking at 26 and
Yeah.
asking you, questioning me. Okay, all right. I see that. Put a dot there, cause that's a change. I'm fine waiting for Mr. Lee, but I would love to know about my next question is the explanation of our, capital improvement.
Next page, on the page.
No, it's not the
Oh,
next page,
Capital improvement
but
budget.
I'm
Oh.
just, yeah.
Next budget already?
I mean,
He's only got
oh, well, and that's what I need to try to stick with, but I've been flip flopping around. And I think that's something that we might need as a council together. Cause I keep flip flopping around when I'm looking at it. But, maybe we should, but I don't want to do that for like on here. I don't want to this in case everybody else. I think it's better we leave it open for budget and not say like far, or it might be better if we concentrate on one department
Yeah.
and our discussion could stick with something. But I don't want it, if we don't take a lot of time on something, then we couldn't go to another if we specify what's on there. So it's best leave it like it is, right?
The highway user fees, is that just a block?
I always look for,
I know I've heard this explanation before. Please refresh my memory. What?
It's generally based on motor vehicle registration
Okay,
by jurisdiction. And it's a number that goes to the state and they return it to us in a grant.
okay.
It's a sizable revenue source for the towns, and back during the Great Recession of the 2000s into mid 2000 teens, the governor basically confiscated those highway user revenues to help balance the state budget, and towns and counties got almost zero. But once the recession ended and the economy started to rebound, the states gradually started to build that back up. And I believe under Governor Hogan, the the basic formula was restored 100%. So we're back to where are supposed to be now. But for a number of years, towns and counties took a big hit on highway user revenues.
Okay.
And it's another thing, whenever if we annex a new street in the town, as we did over on Colburn, that goes into our or our highway inventory. And then we get credit for anything along those lines, as a revenue source.
Okay.
So I'm a little surprised to see that the projected revenue next year is less than this year.
Mhm.
Because normally that's something you can count on to increase year by year.
Here's the sad part. You're talking about years, trying now also moving to shift to review, well, we've been reviewing it for months, the current fiscal year 26 budget. And the highway user estimation is down about $14,000. That number's gonna change.
For 26,
Yes,
what you said about 14,000?
about 14,000 less.
Oh, that's.
Mhm. It is. So usually we get these estimations, I think in September for the year, the closest year, and then the year after, and then like December or January, we get another estimation, and that's what we got this year. It's gonna be less. I think last year was more.
Yeah. Yeah, it had been gradually increasing since the recession.
Yeah, it was
So I don't know if
30,000.
that's a reflection of less registrations, meaning people are leaving the state and not registering their vehicles, or just what's happening.
I think that has something to do with probably why they're targeting if you're in Maryland a lot and they see, I know they're targeting Virginia tags. I don't know if they're doing Delaware tags yet or not, but I think that's part of it too.
I imagine.
People are registering. But living here, but registering their vehicles in Virginia.
Sure.
That's only reality down.
Okay. Alright, so let's look at it. Is the solid waste collection, was that from, is that from what was going to water and sewer, or from water and sewer?
Solid waste collection, yeah, that's what people comment,
It's,
they come and,
it's for the trash.
yeah,
Okay, it's on the utility bills. It's $20 a quarter.
So that's staying the same. People
It
are
is.
getting more trash cans than that it
Melissa
changed. You know,
could, yes, Melissa could speak to that. Some people get turned in their trash cans because now you charge it for everyone. Oh, yes. I don't know how many people got more. We also now are charging all the businesses. So it's not that much of a difference as reflected in the budget numbers.
oh,
But yes,
so could we be like losing people since people had turned
yes,
some in?
yes. We can. I would recommend eventually that's gonna need to go up. I don't think anybody wants to mess with these utility bills at this year.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah.
plan, to not mess with the utility bills. And even though that's not water and sewer, it's all the utility bill.
And one thing just to have in the back of our minds is as the county increases the tipping fee that's
Yep.
charged to us.
Right, yeah,
We'll
cause
need to-
Randy and I were just talking about that.
Yeah, so we'll need to adjust our fee in order to compensate for that. Otherwise, we're gonna be going down for a while.
I know that's good for me, expenses.
I mean, and especially he was just talking about, the fees because of still cleaning up from like the storm. He said, even though that some of the brush and the trees are going in, they can put it in the trash truck. but people are putting more out and it's charging them more because people are still steady putting it out.
Sure.
And they're really cleaning up now. And some of it isn't all storm.
That was beyond on. It was starting to clear the yards and so,
Mhm.
yeah.
So under the investment earnings income, what is that, why is it up and about?
Well, it's the interest in our bank accounts.
Okay,
That's all it is.
All right.
It's not really,
you're not holding.
no, it's the, it's the interest in the bank accounts.
And just down here under miscellaneous, income, we have administrative fees. You know, at the very bottom line,
The miscellaneous income,
yeah,
what that is, I think presently is grant funding that we get and it hasn't been applied to where it's gonna go.
Okay.
But again, that will be a journal entry to the proper line
Right.
when we get in the, we present you with the review. So they're gonna increase your revenue line and increase your expense line to match up with that. That's what that is, kind of just sitting there.
okay. And the administrative fees.
Oh, that was it. You know, that is,
Is that John?
we didn't have it before, and it's the code lines. It's the roofing permits, it's the pool permits, it's just,
Okay.
I think it got, something happened with the ordinance. And
Yeah, I guess.
something happened with the ordinance, so that's what Dan's presenting tonight, all those fees aren't there, but administrative fee was new and charged. So that's what that is, $125, and I think it just is included for permits,
Okay.
pools, roofs.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I guess that it all is kind of weird because it was once bumped together.
Yeah.
One miscellaneous line, and I separated to have it
Yeah, so,
apply to the proper departments.
yeah,
That way it's more,
you can actually see where all the.
see where that's going and be able to follow track.
So 1081 is what?
And so,
And,
Melissa feels very strongly, and she is correct, that 1039 should have some of those fees
Correct.
because of her handling of the processing of the thing.
it's,
So I think we have a percentage going somewhere in the system, yeah, hopefully too.
should have, we have all position, but should.
So well, you see a lot of people, and I guess we'll have to bring that up in the work session when it comes to that fees time. Because a lot of people are getting by putting pools and stuff in. And unless you're out there and see it, that's money that we're losing as a town.
Yes.
We really are. And I noticed a lot of people try to do stuff at night or when they know that the town, I was talking to Dan about that yesterday, that you could see a lot of activity Thursday and Friday,
Wow.
like during.
Oh, it's a holiday.
People, yeah,
He needs some infrared, glasses.
or he needs a drum that goes around just when he's not here, so that is something that really needs. That is how we're losing.
So the miscellaneous income from Logan's Run,
Long story.
On,
Morgan's
I
Run
agree, Steve.
did not have a homeowners association, but they have a pond that apparently overgrows and needs maintaining.
that's right.
So I believe meetings were held with the attorneys with the town, and it was agreed upon that the town will maintain it once a year, and we charge the Morgan's Run residents exactly that cost. And it is on their liens. It is filed on those properties that they have to pay that.
Okay.
So that's what that. And the original one for 64,000, I think, was closing down the, what do you call it, Rick, when you have a building, public works agreement.
Public works.
The
agreement for a
bonds,
project.
and-
Mhm.
Okay, so that's why.
That's what that
Those
is.
numbers
Yeah.
go. Okay.
Yeah, it was a big deal about that one.
Yes. And I think just because of all the complaints and apparently the condition of the pond, this was a good pond and the attorneys had to get involved, so everybody agreed to it, charged correctly.
All right, our reimbursement from water fund.
The reimbursement from the water fund and reimbursement from the sewer fund, both. We talked to the, Bobby about this, and he expressed his concerns. So we reviewed how, the salaries were, deducted from there, and we actually reduced it, so we put, costs back into those departments. Consider the back to the departments and reduce the cost to wastewater and sewer, which we for reduction, look at this year's, we had 238,515. That will be reimbursed from water fund, and next year's, budget is for 204,215. We reduced it, that puts more money back into wastewater.
First time.
Water and wastewater.
Yes.
Stuff like that.
First time, so it's gonna be it's something that you actually change overnight, it will cause a department failure if we did that. So we're gonna look at it year over year and gradually start declining, where we see fit.
Okay.
But it also need to be clear that maybe we may not all work at wastewater plants, but we all contribute in some manner to the operations of it.
So under reserve funds, there's nothing for years.
That's correct.
That doesn't.
It would be really good to get to a point where we start building that back up. Also something that we're looking into put into a plan.
Didn't the auditor address that issue about loans and how much we were supposed to have? And I'm hearing on this tail end, it comes back and there's nothing going in it to put money into it.
Money did. Wait, just like that.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
I'm good here, I'm sorry.
I think what Councilman Lee's talking about is the reserves that we have as the general operating budget. We've got a certain percentage of funds in reserve that would fund the government if something should go into a war or depression or something. We could function for 5 months.
Recommended those in the town has stopped.
We have 5 months of reserve. This heavily dipped into to deal with the problems at the sewer plant. Supporting the lack of appropriate, take into effect of a full years of payments under the new rates that were established last year to see how close they're coming to bringing a balanced budget about. We know it's still not balanced, but we're trying to move that way. But we're in very good shape on reserves for general government.
It's not budgeted, that's what, it's not budgeted, but we wait for that number at our audit, and it's been, I think, over 400 and 250 last year was created in reserves from the budget spending. So the idea is you get a balanced budget and you don't spend it all. That's the plan.
Yeah. So.
Right.
So I just, again, say,
And,
the budget
and
design about needs and how.
Todd directs that very well, the, department heads are chief director, but he, you know, with him writing, entering those checks and those expenses, he's on it. He's like, dude, I need that.
So 70-10, that is, MML falls under that, right?
Yes.
The discretionary.
And the training, I think. That's gonna be a lot in June.
Well, yeah, I know,
Just got-
that's why I was looking, I want to make sure that I'm looking at the right line for it and not seeing shoes. Well, we missed this, the early, like, registration.
So now you're into expenses.
Yes.
We went to the revenue, now you're into expenses.
So,
So,
go ahead.
no, go ahead, sorry.
So in finance and administration, the full-time salary is 522,112. That's down the 571 that we budgeted and. Whose salary did we cut?
So we didn't cut, we moved, we relocated, planning and zoning because Dan's objective of how he's gonna operate, that area, that department, and being the department head, I felt it was better to remove him from,
Okay.
finance administration and have planning and zoning, that way we can view
Yeah.
all his activity and plan better moving forward year over year.
Based on what he brings in.
Basically, what he brings in, let's finish this.
Okay. All right. So finance,
So will that, being that you're saying that, this part, the, going back to the revenue page at the bottom, that 1081, 5998 at the very bottom.
15.
So would that change out of this budget part and go into his?
Split.
Or will it-
Split between, basically the split between him and, who is, and,
For this one line? Okay, I need to.
We're trying to get that, the accounting system set up that way, that part of it's going to admin,
Right,
general administration, and part of it's going to code.
but it'll have this number here, right?
Yes, right. And
Correct.
this is new, all this is
I'm
new.
sorry, yeah. So the 1081, that will be,
Mhm. I wrote
if
that.
you look over, above that, the 1039, that,
But 59,
so you
98.
see, we had a 6,001 for it, that would split that all, 24, 36.
Okay.
So under overtime, I'm under the impression that we don't actually overtime, but we do comp time.
So we're working on that, but overtime positions presently are finance, in admin.
Okay.
Then you have the positions of communications, administrative coordinator, economic development that are comp time because they're working outside the 8:30 to 4:30.
Okay.
And that's what that is. We're trying to adjust these schedules and figure out how there's overtime built in for finance, Melissa, myself, and Tron.
Okay.
There is not overtime presently for any other position. It's all comp time.
Okay.
We're still trying to work on that though, because there's more hours than more time.
Yeah.
But isn't the economic person is a department head, right? No?
That's what we would have had to vote on.
Yep. Okay.
I was thinking that it was.
There's a whole new.
That's brand new.
Yeah.
And we are still obviously working on this. Dan presented, that's what he's working with these fees. The goal is for him to balance out. That is the goal. But with this being the first year,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's
Of course.
gonna take him. a little
Yeah.
bit.
So his department's actually aiming at being self-sufficient.
That is, well, balance itself, right?
Yes. I love that.
Yes.
As it probably should have
Yes.
been, or at least balancing some. The farmer's market always has the
Little bit of money.
250, yes, what is,
My history with that, yeah, it's like, so electricity, like if it was in the, where it was in the parking lot, some of them, are they coded to that on the utility bill? But
oh,
signs, if Chesapeake bought a sign to the farmer's market, it's very little, but it's always been there, because we kind of just didn't want to eliminate it. You wanna
right,
Appreciate what it is.
equipment rental. What falls under that?
That is the Xerox machine.
Oh my goodness,
But that does include, that's just not rental, that does include
This is here.
the service,
the service, ink, supplies. And if it breaks down, they pretty much gonna build out and put a brand new one in there, so.
So beautification right above it.
Thank you.
Yeah. I would love an explanation on beautification and why it only costs $455.
so they only use it probably like for flowers, or they buy flowers outside, but a lot of times,
Where
I
you find these flowers at?
huh?
They put like a wreath over the door
Yeah.
historically.
For
It's alcohol.
Yeah.
I guess the flower boxes are in front of the
Everything comes from
local
Wow.
vendor,
Well,
local vendor.
And
No,
local
big, I'm sorry.
businesses tend to be higher than.
They get it from the Walmart, yeah.
But if it comes from Walmart, sometimes it doesn't last as long.
If you can return
Can we back up just a minute?
Sure.
And this is to you, if I may. In realizing what the outcome of this is, how do you, and when I say that, I say it in terms of the outcome is desired, and it's valid. I criticize it valid. That these fees balance out another part of the budget. So in order to get that balance, we've got to do this. And we've got to do it anyway because it's out of date. But here's my question. Recognizing that delicate balance, from my point of view, how do you legitimize and where do you see the possibility Yes. Do you hear me?
Mhm.
Because that's where this land, this here. How do you balance that as you go forward? Realistically, when you've got an outcome that you got to be responsive to administration. But yet on the other hand,
Finish and I'll join in after you
yet on
finish
the other
what you're
hand,
saying.
and in making that determination of how to set how do you do that effectively and honestly?
Well, I think what's happening in this case is we've got three exercises going on independent of each other, yet they're all connected through a fiscal element. This fees and fines update should have happened, whether it's regardless, because it's been many, many years since these fees were changed. And in Dan's research, he's found that we're so out of whack with what most other communities are charging for similar services that he feels we're cheating ourselves by not having a rate structure that meets the expectation of the market and what the investment is in time, employee time and effort and that sort of thing. And so the fees updating should have occurred anyway. Now, because we've reorganized that department and we have somebody of Dan's caliber here, he is trying to look at the fees in the context of what he can legitimately raise in the course of a fiscal year as a way of supporting his office and trying to bring that revenue to expenses more in alignment.
Yeah.
Now, right now, we have an unusual situation in that we have engaged a third party through First State Inspections to do all of our building code inspections. If you come in to get a building permit, Dan will process the application for you. But then it goes directly to First State Inspections and they'll take it from there all the way up to the point where it's ready for a certificate of occupancy. And they charge us a fee for that. So those fees are reflected as our revenue and as our expense rather, but what it's going to cost us to have that service. Now, eventually, once the office is in position to take that on itself or takes it back, then we'll have a little more control over those fees. And so the concept is make our fees reasonable for the cost that we're putting out. Secondly, try as best as we can to bring the fees into balance with the expense. And then third, how that all affects the budget as a sound policy for the going 12 months, coming 12 months. So, your question as to what is our safeguard to opportunity to soak somebody or to be out of whack? There's where you go to trust your staff. I mean, Dan has been very careful to comparative shop. We did the same thing with our water and sewer rates, with our property tax rate. The year we raised the property tax rate to provide LEOPS to the police department. We looked at what the civil and property tax rates would be for like communities. And we've always tried to be comparable to be in the ballpark with any time we've suggested raising fees or taxes for that matter, because we don't want to soak it. We want it to be fair.
And understand, I'm totally supportive of what you're doing. I think as you refresh my memory about how this came is moving, particularly with that third party intervention. But I'm conscious, Rick, of there being the articulation of the phrase cash cows.
Mm-hmm.
And that has stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I just want to ensure it's to our constituents, to our taxpayers, that, you know, when we have to raise, it is in fairness that it's being done with equity and with integrity. That's what I'm
And
concerned
that's
about.
entirely appropriate for all of you as elected officials to have that confidence level that what you are, when you're reaching out and taking money out of the pockets of your constituents, you want that confidence level that what you're doing is fair and justifiable and defensible. And avoiding that is what's caused so much problem. That's what happened in Wycomico County. As you know, that led to the taxpayer revolution that created the county executive position because they went for many, many years without adjusting the property tax. And then they tried to overcompensate in one fell swoop and they had a revolution. We found that with our water and sewer fees, we were so far out of whack that we couldn't make it right in 1 year. So we've already had 2 increases in the rates. And likely if we're going to get to true balance, we're going to need another one in the not too distant future. And so there is that sensitivity to being fair with what we're charging, but then there's also the obligation and the responsibility to charge what's necessary to meet the cost.
I'm very glad that you.
When I was county executive, I always opened my budget hearings to the public. I said, look, we're here to serve. You tell us what you want from us, but then you tell us what you're willing to pay for it. And that's the piece that we don't always get into.
And then that's the piece that I'm glad that you're in the position that you are, that it translates into the administration and the administrators and doing it. Because people, you know, I've had a great opportunity now to be listening a little more. And what I'm hearing, it's not the deep mistrust from a lot that I used to hear, but I think that in terms of where we're open to be more transparent, and that's what I'm saying, that we're moving. We didn't get where we are in Snow Hill in this situation overnight. It's been a long time coming. Yeah, but it's better. I'm glad to hear you say that. Thank you for that.
Sure.
And another thing to add to that too is that you have Lou and Tehran that I always say, can you break it down into something else? But that's putting more work on them. But one other thing that falls in place too is probably before that hasn't really been looked at is looking at something like the fees and fines when you look at the budget, that how it needs to be balanced and what's going. I tell you, some of those, I just said to Councilmember Lumpkins about the, you know, people putting sheds up on, they're stealing from the town because they're not getting their permits that they're, you know, and that's money, that revenue that we're losing. It may not sound like a lot, like I said to Tehran all the time. I saw a light on somewhere. I saw a light on, but those pennies build up, build up, build up. So some of those things we really have to be mindful and look at. Because it may take a little bit, but it does build up to add up to something.
Well, and I have to say, and not just because they're here, but you've got a staff here throughout town organization that understands this isn't our money. It is for
Yeah.
people like Tehran who live here and pay taxes. But it's not. It's not. We're very respectful of the fact that we are reaching into people's pockets.
Yeah.
But we hope that we're giving them a level of service that makes them feel it's justified.
So I got a little excited just to talking cost accounting like that.
What did you say, Bill?
Talking cost accountants.
Oh,
But it's good stuff. That's some good stuff.
Contract legal services. 716. We've already spent $53,000.
Where are you at?
716 right there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
716 under.
Contract legal, total employee expenses,
Everybody know,
778.16.
16.
Well, I said 16 under admin, police.
and then.
Right, and, okay. We said 53, yes, yes. That's actually under budget. It's actually under.
I know.
Huh?
But we spent, okay, so,
So we budgeted for 85,000,
yeah,
right?
okay,
Halfway,
we're halfway through.
no, well, halfway through the year,
Yeah.
we're under 50%. Now, at this point, before April, we should have been at 75%. We're still at 69, I think. So we're still under.
Okay, good.
So on the same note,
Mm-hmm.
would you tell me where we are? Can you tell me where we are? Legal side, and I'm gonna assume that, is that broken out for our attorney's fees?
Yes, that's
Okay.
big attorney fees, yes. We're in good standing. So right now, when I look at it, when I do it, at this point, we should be, because we're in April. So we should have had 75% of that $85,000 already spent. Well, we're actually on.
And what I'm asked, what I would like, can you give me what's the figure last year at this time?
Last year this time?
Yes. I want to
Um,
compare the last two, let me just put it this way, would you give me, you don't have to do it now, but I'd like for the last 3 years
mhm.
to give me the actual figure for legal side.
I can give you that figure. I'll tell you right now that comparison to last year, we're actually on.
I
Well, there it is,
realize-
right across you.
And I realize that, but I would like to see it for the last 3 years.
Okay.
And I-
No problem.
So if you give me the last 3 years, I realize now.
Yeah.
Because you can feel that, well, I realize that. You can feel it, you can touch it.
Okay, yeah.
And professional services,
Make that 4 years,
Exactly.
because I want to go back to the yes.
Sorry. Council, what you said,
that's our IT, our, you know,
other professional service is going to be, our engineers.
I wonder, I think we talked about this, if Colburn is in that line. I don't know what made me wonder if something is in that line, if there's a project in
Okay.
that line. I just wonder about that.
Oh, there is. So what's in there right now is going to be the bathroom,
Okay,
the bathrooms for Sturgis Park,
okay.
which once that is completed and we get refunded that, we'll take care of that, go back.
So there's an example, we're gonna get
Yes.
grant money for that.
Correct.
So we're gonna bump up the expense and because we're gonna receive the revenue
Right.
for the grant. That is Sturgis Park,
Sturgis Park.
Sturgis bathroom, so
Sturgis,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
And if I may, and I don't know where it falls in here, but I've got a question and I think in the mayor's letter, I recall her, in her letter, so she took $60,000. That was grant for the basketball court out of the budget. That item being to the county. Can you help me on that, Rick?
Yes, we did, put it in the request for the county, but we've also got it included in our capital budget.
Where it's been? It has not been removed from the capital budget.
No, for the basketball courts? No,
Yes.
no.
That answers my question.
No, we've actually got a conversation underway now with the Board of Education to, enter into a memorandum of understanding similar to what's going on in Pocomo.
How is that moving here?
We're, just trying to find a time when we can all be available, sit down and talk about it. But we've actually put in $300,000 request to do the basketball multi-purpose courts. Do it upright.
Yeah, I guess that's maybe the proper time. I've had some conversation, and I think it started with some of the gentlemen doing the Parks and Recreation Center. I'm looking at, and last night at the comp plan, at the comprehensive plan, we began to talk about growth and development. So it's coming into all one circle, but it comes back to a conversation with the Board of Education. And remember when he was here, we began the Parks and Recreation. We talked about what if scenario. That scenario says that what if, or if we could have a conversation with the Board of Education to do a block of that land, vacant land they have over there for a community center concept. It's not on this budget, it's long term. But at some point, I would hope that we begin to look at that discussion, and I'm asking Rick, if we plan, you look at developing budgets going forward and do conversation, hopefully now, that there's a great opportunity. There's land setting there that they are not using. The point I'm making is that can help tremendously to talk, expedite some of the things that they're talking about. Parks and Recreation said we want to develop a pathway where the people from that end could walk into their center. And then it grew to, why not expand upon what you're looking at now, what they did in the Pocono, of having a thorough conversation of their willingness. Because if they were willing in a trade-off, to give us a chunk of land in exchange for making a win-win situation, we could solve a lot of our problems out there in that park now, because that whole basketball piece could come into this. The comprehensive plan is now asking citizens, what do you see? Do you want a community center? Do you want one for the seniors? You know, wish list. But the reality is that's moot if we don't have the land to establish those things on. So in that conversation that you're having now, and putting it in your mind also as you're looking at budget, I hope that that's something that, you know, we can kind of begin to lock down. That's 5, 10 years ahead. But they are planning 5 years. They do their planning in Parks and Recreation 5 years ahead of time. And what was conveyed out of that whole conversation was that we weren't talking enough with them so that we can begin to talk about the trade-off. It all comes back to the job.
On. Pause or,
I'm good with
This
that.
side. huh?
I'm good with the floor right now. Thank you for answering my question. No problem.
So we got through the administrative part. Or wait a minute, let's see. Is it the same in here? When we hit this tag, Nope.
Oh, okay, so those are broken down by department.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah. I always like looking at this way, this is a little corn here, but,
So the reason why I designed those is that the department heads will keep track of their spending throughout the year. And it gives them the opportunity to go back
good.
for the next year and look at what they spend and see where they can make cuts at and where they can move back or see any difference in payment stuff.
Right,
Yeah,
and you
it's a
also gave
template,
them
it's a
what
template.
they use most
Yeah.
too, right?
It's a template
Yeah.
to keep, to see, you know, to build a better budget.
Okay, so now I will really. So I was just looking at the colors, I'm black and white is hard, the color is right now.
Yeah.
We don't have no yellow in it, but, yeah, I've been looking at this part. And.
The department has obviously aware of what they put in their budgets.
Right,
On a regular basis,
yeah.
and trying to set this up, so they need to look at what they have on those
That's
lines.
right.
And if they have unbudgeted
Right.
expenses that they can add to that.
And it's an opportunity to see what they plan for, just a
Mhm.
reminder of side by side, what they're planning for, and then what the actual cost will be. Because, you know, I think a lot of the department heads, they plan their budgets early
Mhm.
based off information that they currently have.
It's like,
And by the time that happens, which we see often, and things we do, by the time it is time to spend that money or do that project, cost has increased. We've
Right,
seen a lot of cost increase over the past few years that kind of altered budgets, that the departments that have structured. Which is also why, because going into budget, beginning of the budget, I asked them to also put aside 10% of the total budget for the end of the year. That way, while money from June is still coming in, invoices are coming in July, they have the revenue there to utilize and not break the bank.
And just another thing for your own information, if we haven't shared this with you already, as a practice, normally when we get through our 9 months of a fiscal year, we'll put a message out to all the department heads that any spending from that point on needs to go through finance to make sure that we do have everything covered. So we have a little tighter watch over the departments in that last quarter.
Well, 4 quarters shutdown.
It looks like somebody requested a drone classes in Rosanna for administration.
That's still
Communication
Oh,
for
okay,
Justin.
yeah,
Is that still, that in there?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
We're gonna use the drone for marketing and.
Market first Fridays, that's right, yeah.
To get some up close, so like canoe jousting, stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's coming up, yeah.
Dude,
there you go.
I'll be out there.
You want to stand up?
Mhm.
no,
You got 2 people power. And then you can stand up in the middle.
so you got a thing called concrete,
Yeah.
or best friends?
Are we good for?
I think we are. Maybe
I'm personally.
Any questions you got, thoughts?
we can decide on what we
Sleep on it for the next budget meeting?
look at, do it. Yeah.
Yes, please definitely look through those expenses, because, you know, that's my whole thing, I would love to talk about it.
I mean, like I said to you today, when we was on, I still need to come back in, like, the next meeting, sit down with you on this.
So, fucking, yeah, now.
Well, as soon as I can-
And right on the end.
You have a 1 second.
I say it's been right in the bed
All I wanna do is.
till my eyes get tired. When you look at numbers, it's hard. Mhm.
I think he's delighted to meet with you, but we do have a 5 o'clock budget session, work session scheduled for next Tuesday,
Mhm.
followed by a 7 o'clock regular monthly meeting. We'll have the agenda out for that. Probably tomorrow, the next day.
But yeah,
It's
then,
5:30.
look, I'm getting ready to look at my calendar, like, wait a minute, did I write the wrong time down?
It's
On the
5:30.
14th.
All right,
Oh, it's 5:30, not 5 o'clock,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah, look,
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to pull it out. I wrote it for clarification.
Yeah, I got
It's 5:30,
Yeah.
Okay.
It should be on the timeline too. It should show that on the timeline.
I
Yeah.
put it in my fancy planner guy.
Yeah, that's it.
And the other one's at 6, and
On the 21st,
the
You read my
21st
mail,
is
huh?
at 6.
and then the 28th is the public hearing, but you have a work session after the public hearing, so good.
Mhm.
I assume there are no comments from the public.
Oh, let me check.
Well, that's right.
It's out of my range of motion.
You still got more agenda to go through, don't you?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's cheap.
No comments.
Mhm.
All right, announcement from the council. Councilperson Fletcher,
No, have none.
Councilperson Lynch.
Yes, and Mayor, and, the director, the council members. I attended that, meeting last night with the comprehensive plan. I'm very dissatisfied, council, and with this, with the contract. I have information that Michael, who was the lead person, came here, quit last week. That he's not, I have that information. No one has said that. I haven't seen official, but that's what I, and he made certain promises to us when he came. We are approaching a point in that comprehensive plan that I think is critical. And that's the land use and growth and expansion. And I raised the question with him specifically when he was on certain areas of the contract. Will you come back to council, mayor and council, to discuss with us? Because we don't want to get an overload situation. We get to the end of it, and then here you go on these critical questions to us. He said yes. I would ask Rick, I mentioned that last night at the meeting, but I think it should come directly to ask you, that I think they need to come in here and update us where they are and what's taking place. It seems to me that as I listen to them in terms of responses to the comprehensive plan, they are not aggressively, I'm making a statement, they are not aggressively moving forward in what I felt. I'm not gonna talk about anybody else. I felt expectation that they would see. Maybe I'm showing too much interest but I watched for over 1 year. And that's why I went to those planning council meetings to see how it's done and what is done. Every meeting that they had scheduled on a monthly basis or when they met with the council, Michael was there.
This is with the county
County
commissioners.
commissioners. Now, I understand that's a bigger dollar thing that they've got in terms of, but when it comes down, they should not have taken these kinds of jobs, small county township jobs, promising up here and not delivering. So the bottom line, they are not delivering.
Well, as you know, the consultant spent a full year on the public outreach process of the county comprehensive plan update. They had a full year just for that piece of the exercise, where we have a matter of a couple of months.
Yeah. And I'm aware of it, but I was excited about them coming on board. But I thought that we would get better information, attention. Now, it could be that they're sitting back and whenever they make a presentation, it satisfies those of us who've been engaged in this, it's not just myself, but in terms of what we see. I believe this council should be informed of what's taking place, and don't come in and hand me that book when you, as we wrap up, and expect me to understand what's in it. You hear my dissatisfaction. Thank you.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.